if your spouse has significant narcissistic traits. Now, most people do have narcissistic qualities. Everybody has some of them. But what I'm referring to is like a chronic and predictable pattern of a lack of empathy, an inability to take personal accountability, an inability to ever say they're sorry, an apparent commitment to misunderstanding you, where you feel like you're working so hard to communicate and they just keep misunderstanding you. This also includes gaslighting, emotional manipulation, and just an ongoing disregard for how you feel and your emotional safety. That's really what I'm talking about. Is there a chronic pattern of feeling like my partner never really understands me? They never really empathize. I always feel alone. And anytime I bring up anything, it's going to get flipped back onto me. That's really a big red flag. It won't work. Personality disorders are considered a precondition. So what that means is if you're with somebody like that, it doesn't matter how perfect you are. It doesn't matter how much work you've done. It doesn't matter how good you get at communicating, how good you get at emotional regulation, all the things that you're working on. You'll find that it just doesn't make a dent. They're not going to allow you to be successful. And so in that case, if you stay in the relationship, you just have to know what the limitations are, and you will be making sacrifices and dishonoring at least parts of yourself. And of course, I don't think that's worth it. I never recommend that, but I also do respect that sometimes people do have to make that choice if there's other extenuating circumstances that require them to stay. The second thing is if your spouse suffers from an acute, untreated mental illness or mental health condition or addiction. It could be like an addiction to alcohol. It could be an addiction to gambling. It could be a porn addiction. Anything that is considered self-medicating that is constantly getting in the way of accountability and a relational health and true connection. It's not the addiction in and of itself. It's, are they willing to acknowledge that they need help and get the help that they need? If they are, then it's not a precondition. But if they're not willing to get the help, or they say it's really not an issue, then your relationship cannot be healthy because they're not healthy, right? You can still love them and you can still care about their well-being, but you don't have to stay with them. You don't have to be under the same roof, and you can love them from afar, and you don't have to enable them. Sometimes there's guilt around this, like if this person is struggling with an addiction, I don't want to abandon them. But there are ways that you can set things up where they have the supports that they need, and it doesn't have to be you, even if they think that it does. If you're also dealing with somebody who has a mental illness, like maybe they're bipolar and they're unmedicated, if you're managing a situation like that and you feel really compelled to stay in it, you might want to look at what is the secondary gain and look into codependency resources.